So Zarna, thank you for sitting down with me again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So tell me about your life before becoming a comedian.
For 16 years I was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm licensed to practice law in New York.
Okay.
I went to law school, as a kid, and I'm licensed to practice, but after a few years of practice, I realized I was really bad at it. And, I was just not, you have to know what you're cut out for and what you're not, right? Like, I remember taking my own clients to the judge and being like, Your Honor, my client has robbed the liquor store. I just couldn't keep a poker face. I wasn't cut out for it. So that career kind of was not going very far because all my clients were in jail. So the idea was find something else. And at the time I had my first child and I was like, you know what, I'll stay home, I'll support my kids, I'll support my husband, be home with the kids. So I was home with my kids for 16 years. And 16 years of being home with the kids, I learned something. I'm not that into them. I'm really like, it's a lot of work. It turned out to be very different from what I thought it was gonna be.
I agree, me too. I have a 5-year-old.
Right?
Very different than what I thought it was gonna be.
Like, you have idyllic images of like running slowly behind them and kicking a ball. There's nothing like that. It's more like big tubs of Costco. It's more like, yelling at each other, like eat something, pick up your socks. Oh my God, that was my life.
Picturing a Bollywood movie like Tulip Fields with your children?
Karan Johar with the thali, with the aarti happening every day. Like, yeah, I think definitely heavily influenced by Bollywood.
Okay, so tell me what actually made you switch careers later in life?
I really was looking to do something that maybe hasn't been done in a way that I would do. Look for something where I have an edge. Something the world needs. You have all. Here's the thing about not knowing what you want to do. Everything is possible, but also impossible. You feel like you could do this, that, everything, but also it's like, I've never done it. The self-doubt that enters your mind when you haven't, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom for years, where your whole life is consumed with formula and diapers and strollers, you feel like the world has moved on without you. And that you got left behind somehow.
Yeah.
So I was struggling with this thing. I was like, I don't know what to do. I knew that a corporate life was not going to work. I still have 3. I mean, it's not like the kids stop being kids. I still have a kid in elementary school now.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I was like, I can't live that life where a corporate company is going to be like, you need to show up at this time and you have to say, how would I have done it? So I was struggling. I was telling my kids, I was like, I don't know what to do. And, I had learned to write a screenplay. I was like, why aren't there any happy movies about Indian people? Like, I felt like a lot of movies that exist about Indian people are heavy and sad, especially the women movies. And then I started doing a little research, and the biggest rom-com in America is actually a Greek movie. I was so pissed off. I was actually offended on behalf of all Indians. I was like, how do the Greeks have the biggest rom-com? Like, wedding movie? Are you kidding? We're the wedding people. So I started thinking I should write something. Maybe I was like, how hard can it be to write a movie? And I really thought that if I wrote a movie, I will call Disney and they'll make it. This is what, when you don't know, you don't know.
I thought the same thing, by the way. Yeah.
But aren't you glad sometimes it's better not to know?
It's so much better not to
Otherwise, you wouldn't do it.
Yes,
you would be
if
paralyzed
you knew that less than 1% of films get into a festival, I would have never done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better. Ignorance is bliss.
The naivety now, looking back, I was like, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yes.
But I did teach myself how to write a screenplay and all YouTube. I didn't go back to school because God, I was still paying off loans from college and law school. I'm like, I cannot afford one more degree.
Yeah.
But luckily in the world we live in, everything can be self-taught now. Mostly. I mean, no, please do not become a brain surgeon self-taught. But barring that, there's a lot of other things. You can write a story. So I taught myself, and then that screenplay ended up winning the top comedy prize at Austin. It beat out like 11,000 scripts.
Wow.
But it's crazy. After that, like, I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I won, now what?
Yeah.
Like, no one there knew me, I didn't know them, I wasn't part of that world.
Yeah.
So it was like, great, I got a big trophy and then I came home.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my kids, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And my daughter, she's like, Mom, you should just become a stand-up comedian. And I'm like, that's not a job. You know, I was like, that's not a job. I need a job that pays money. And she's like, no, comics make money. And I'm like, what does she know? You know what I mean? When your kid says something to you, you're like, what do you know?
Yeah.
That's your first reaction as a mom.
Yeah.
And almost on a dare, they made me do it. They were like, oh, for 16 years, you made us take piano lessons and guitar lessons and all these things that we didn't want to do. And now are you too scared to try something new?
Yeah.
And almost on a dare, they were like, you should become a comic. Our friends think you're so funny, you're always making people laugh. So almost on a dare, I showed up at an open mic. I thought, you know what, let me go, let me do this thing, and then I can tell my kids I did it and that it's not right for me. But I went there, and that open mic changed my life. The first time I got, by the way, that was also the first time I had ever stepped foot in a comedy club. We don't do comedy. You know, Indian people, we don't know stand-up comedy is an art form. Mm-hmm. We don't go to clubs.
Especially Indian women.
Absolutely not. They don't want you to laugh. Our culture like actually penalizes women who laugh. It's considered vulgar. Like if you look it up, really, it's like
we're supposed to be quiet. Keep
be
your head
quiet,
down, be
and
quiet.
even if you laugh, like do the giggle, like you know, don't like full on like laugh. So the first time I went for the open mic was the first time I went into a comedy club.
Yeah.
And the woman who ran it happened to be a mom of 3 kids. I really think sometimes I look back at that day and I'm like, if it was not a mom with kids who ran the open mic, I'm not sure I would have gone on stage.
Yeah.
But because it was another woman and she's like, oh, just go, just say, talk about whatever you think is funny.
Yeah, yeah.
That gave me like, oh, maybe I should try it.
Yeah.
So I went up on stage and she's like, just talk about whatever you think is funny. And I was like, whatever? And she goes, yeah, whatever you want. And I just went on and I started trashing my mother-in-law. Because who doesn't think that's funny? You know what I mean? I was like, this sounds like a good place to let it all out. And the audience was loving it. And I'm standing there thinking, like, what? White people do this? Like, you get paid to do this? Yeah. I could do this all day long.
You had no stage fright? It was your first time?
There was nothing to be frightened. I thought I was going to do this and go home and that would be the end of it. So there was nothing to be afraid of.
But sharing your personal life and such personal things in front of an audience of people?
Well, the wounds of my mother-in-law run so deep that somebody just has to say the word and I'm ready to like tell you everything she's done, all the mean things she's done to me and all the crazy things she says about me. I found it cathartic. I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm like, the other thing, I don't pay for a therapist. Yeah. So I'm like, this could be good. Like, I can just stand up here and talk and get paid. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Here's why I wasn't afraid. I wasn't looking to build a career at it. I was like, I will do it. I will go home. I will tell my kids how stupid this idea was. And that will be the end of it.
Yeah.
So what is that? I didn't think I was ever going to go back there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're my hero. Can I just say?
No, my God, no. The world has ended if I'm anybody's hero. Like I'm like literally like the world's biggest trial and error case.
Yeah. No.
Here.
As another brown woman who was told to just shut up and be quiet and not make noise and just do the right thing, you're my hero. I was going to ask you something else. What was it? Oh God, it slips my mind.
I have that effect.
Yes, you do. What were the first steps you took to building an audience after that first show?
So that first show was like, I didn't know what I was doing. But then when I realized, oh, I might actually have something here, I found out how the system works and what you have to do. First of all, the woman who ran the mic, she said to me, you're very funny, but you don't have jokes. So I had to go home and Google, like, what is a joke? And figure out what she meant. Because in the club, I was like, yeah. But I went running home and I was like, what is a joke? How do you write a joke? And I learned how to do that. And then in New York, and I believe in a lot of other cities, the way you start comedy is that it's called a bringer show. That's the first opportunity you get to be on a show. So what essentially the clubs do is they ask you to bring people to support the venue.
Okay.
And if you bring people, you can get on the stage and do 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever the deal is. So they said to me, if you bring 5 people, we'll give you 5 minutes. So at the time I was like, okay, you know, I'll ask my friends, maybe 5 people will be willing to come, sit in the audience, and I'll do 5 minutes. And I had, you know, Instagram, Facebook, I was on all of it as just a regular person. I had like 100 followers here, you know, all my friends and family. So I put a flyer up saying, if anybody is free and willing to come for a few minutes and sit in the audience and buy a drink, I'll get 5 minutes to go up on stage. That first open mic, I needed 5 people, more than 90 people showed up. Because they all heard that an Indian woman was going to trash her mother-in-law. It, like, the news of it spread like wildfire. People drove in from New Jersey and Connecticut, and I showed up thinking, oh my God, what is happening? Like, who are all these people? And I didn't really have an act. Like, I was just gonna, whatever came to my mind. But that was another day that I realized how big this market is and how no one is actually doing this. Because there's so many of us in the world, but making fun of our family, our culture, and our world is just so alien and out of the ordinary that the minute I mentioned it, people were excited and like ready to jump on it. So then I started building, okay, if 5 minutes here, then another club said, I will give you 10 minutes. I was like, okay, now I need 10 people. So slowly, word started getting out that there's a woman who's doing this and it's a lot of fun. And then they started enjoying other comics because for the first time they saw what stand-up comedy was. And they were like, okay, this is a fun time. You know, food, drink, and like laugh. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We just didn't know. Like, I remember the first few times we did comedy, I had people actually ask me if stand-up comedy meant they have to stand. Because that's how far this world is from our people. And I was like, no, you will sit, we will stand, it will be very comfortable. And I tried to do all my shows and venues where I knew our people would be comfortable. Like you need some vegetarian food, that's a part of our life. Like, we don't eat, like, we have a huge population that doesn't eat meat or doesn't drink alcohol. Like, you have to have options. So the more I started developing, I was like, okay, this venue is good for us. This venue, not so much, you know? Somebody's driving an hour, like, I need them to be taken care of. So it all evolved one step at a time.
Before your daughter said you should do stand-up comedy, was it a dream of yours? Was it something you wanted to do?
No, I never in my life knew this was a job, that anybody did this. Not at all. My kids are born and raised here, right? So they have more awareness of pop culture, even though I do think of myself as very well versed in pop culture. Don't get me wrong. I know who Taylor Swift is. I know all the big, like, you know, I know who the big rappers are. I know all the big artists and, you know, actors, and I do know their names.
Who are the big rappers? Tell me, Zarna.
Is Kanye West as a rapper, or he's not rapping? He's doing something. He sings. He sings, right? Yeah. He's there.
Yes, he's there.
P. Diddy is a rapper. He's also a singer. I know he's a singer.
He is.
I know some things. I know Eddie Murphy is a comic. I knew that. Coming to America was a movie, like, I saw that movie like 100 times.
Yeah, for sure.
So I knew the names, but I never, like, you know, some of us grew up in India, immersed in Bollywood. I only always listened to Bollywood music. I only always watched Bollywood movies. I never thought that what was shown on TV and stuff here related to my life.
Sure.
I mean, I watched the sitcoms, but it was always like, oh, this is their life. This is not our life. Because it's not our life. We don't roommate with girls and boys for years and years, and everybody's kind of not doing anything, and everybody's parents are fine with it. Like, that's not our life.
We don't live in dorms. We don't talk back to our parents.
None of that. So to me, all of that was alien. But my kids, of course, they're born and raised here. They're like, Mom, Seinfeld does comedy. He does? I was like, that was news to me. I was like, he does comedy? And she's like, Mom, what do you think he does with the mic at the beginning of every episode? I'm like, I don't know. I thought that was acting. It never occurred to me that he's going to go somewhere live and talk in a mic and people will pay money for this. So it really, to them, what came completely naturally was a revelation to me. Oh, you know, you could do this. And they knew, like, I always have a lot of fun with my kids and their friends. I mean, I'm yelling at every kid. I can't help myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll see somebody at like the checkout counter at Duane Reade and be like, but why aren't you in medical school? Like tell me, like please. There's a mother in me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
And I can't, you know what I mean? Everywhere I go, I'm like, but just take the CPA exam. Just take it. You know, what's the harm? Even if you fail.
Yeah.
So and the kids here, they love it. They think I'm like, oh, being so silly. I'm actually not being silly. I'm very serious. But it started from that. My kids were like, Mom, our friends love coming to our house.
Yeah.
You know, our friends love, I'm always trying to match make, of course. It's like, how can you be an Indian auntie and not make matches?
Yeah.
Anybody wants to, like, I'll be like, what are you doing? Do you have a brother? Do you have a sister who's looking to get married? I'm always getting involved in people's affairs. So the kids were like, Mom, you should just do this on stage. You will kill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, you know.
Well, they were right.
It kills me to admit that my kids are right, because, you know, as a mom, I want to believe they're never right, but they definitely got this one.
They got it right. They got it right. What does it feel like for you personally to have this second career?
You know, I wanted a job so badly for 16 years.
Yeah.
For 16 years, I was like, I didn't come to America to obsess over kids' soccer.
Yeah.
And the mommy and me, all that is so American. No one in India does that stuff. Like the obsession with micromanaging kids, that's like to me, and I was a part of it, so I'm not judging it. I'm just saying, but when I was in that life, I couldn't believe that after all that it took to get here, this is what I'm doing with my life. Like, oh my God, no, Saturday I'll drop you here, and Sunday, where are your hockey socks and all of that? Like, how did this become my life? So I was really desperate to get a job. When Uber was new, you know, when Uber was new and they were advertising everywhere, like sign up to become an Uber driver, like all this money, $1,000 a week or something, like some. I even tried for that. I was like, I'll take that. I don't know how I got rejected from Uber. I have a pristine driving record, and I got rejected from so many things, but I was really desperate, and God has been very kind that I found something that I love and that pays money. Like that's important, because you know, the love of the art. As a mother of 3, I couldn't afford to do that.
Yeah.
I had to get paid. I had to treat it like a career.
Yeah.
And it had to pay me like a career. Otherwise, I couldn't keep doing it.
It's all those rejections were for a reason. It's like failure is the pathway to success, right? You shouldn't have been an Uber driver.
We know now, but it was a bumpy road. I had given up many times, like it's not gonna happen for me.
Yeah.
So, and I know the feeling of that devastation, especially you feel as a stay-at-home mom, because you are buried for so many years. It's unlike any other break you take in life.
Yeah.
You consume with the well-being of other people for so long that you forget that you have to take care of yourself have a plan for yourself.
You have to keep another human alive. That's your number one
and you're
job.
consumed with it. So I understand that devastation really well, and I feel really lucky to have come out of it.
How important do you think storytelling is in today's digital world?
It's everything. It's everything. I mean, everything is the story and the story behind the story. I mean, we all want to know.
Yeah.
Even when movies are made, we want to know who made it, why did they get started. Like, I think people are looking for reasons to find hope, to be inspired, to feel connected. And what's easier than storytelling? You know what I mean? You hear somebody's story and immediately you feel like you're part of that world. You see new versions of yourself in that story. So it's everything. And in some way, what my kids were telling me was accurate, that for my whole life with them, I was telling them stories. Like, you know, in India, we would have done it this way and I would do it this way. And even all their non-Indian kids would be fascinated. I would be like, well, you know, bad date in India is marriage. Like, you meet the person you married, you realize the day after that, I don't know, and then you still make it work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, arranged marriages, it's your first date, and then you're married to this person.
Yeah, and you know what? They make it work. Yeah. They don't overthink. I'm not saying one is better than the other.
Yeah.
But here with my kids, there would be an endless like, I don't know, I don't like it. It was, oh my God, like you don't have to like every ounce of somebody's being.
Yeah.
Like it's probably not gonna happen. You're
Zarna,
not gonna.
I was raised in Canada, and I feel like your kids feel like you have to like every ounce of their being.
No. Oh, I would yell at them. I was like, he has a job. He has a job, people. He's good. Let's go.
Yeah, no, I disagree. We have to disagree on this one. So tell me about the Kevin Hart comedy competition.
So speaking of Uber, because I feel like the rejection from Uber prepared me for something. So Kevin Hart did a comedy competition called the Lyft competition, which was like Lyft, the car service, in collaboration with them. And this was filmed during peak COVID, peak pandemic. So a bunch of us comics were brought on as drivers of a Lyft car each. And we had to drive around New Jersey, picking up passengers and making them laugh. But they didn't know we were comics. So at the end of every ride, the passengers rated their drivers. That was the competition.
These drivers actually called a Lyft and got in a car thinking you were a real Lyft driver.
Yeah, the passengers. Yeah.
And then they rated you on the Lyft ride or
no,
on comedy?
When they got off, they were told that you enjoy. They were asked questions. And then they were told that it's actually a competition and how would you rate your driver, and then they had to essentially they had to rate us against each other. All our ratings were tallied. And that's the competition that I ended up winning, because of course if I'm sitting in a car and there's a guy sitting, I was like, what do you do? Indian aunties tell me, what do you do? Why do you do that? Why do you live here? Where's your mother? Where's your mother-in-law? I don't know. I was just like, the nosiness seems to come so naturally to me.
Yes.
What does your kid do? What's your other kid do? Oh my God. It was a lot of very natural banter. Yeah. And that's the competition that I ended up winning and putting me in Kevin Hart's world and in collaboration with his people.
Where were you in this comedy career when that happened?
So I was 1 year into having a comedy career, 1 year. And my first headlining show at Caroline's, the big club in Times Square, had just sold out. So I did that first show, sold out. And the next week, the city shut down. The next week, New York City. So I was like, I know what has happened. You remember during COVID, where did the pandemic come from? Where did coronavirus come from? It's the bats, it's the market. I was like, I know where it came from. It came from my mother-in-law's kitchen. Because I really believe that she spread COVID in the whole world to shut down my career. And she did everything possible to shut me down. And it did, the city shut down. But I was like, I am not going to give up now, because I had seen glimpses of traction. So I started doing free shows all over the city, under a tree, outside a subway station, in the subway car, on a bus. I was chasing people with my little mobile mic and speaker. I'm like, please, can I tell you a joke, please? Because also I was really nervous that I'm going to lose the funny.
Did you really do this? Or are you kidding?
No.
You did?
Yeah, we can give you tons of videos and footage. That's where Kevin Hart found me. His people found me on the streets.
No way.
Yes. I had an Auntie Zarna tree in Central Park, which was my tree every Friday and Saturday night. It was all free. Free shows. So first show I did, there were 4 or 5 people and a dog and an ambulance, the usual stuff. The last show I did when New York City had opened up was a Diwali show I did for our community. 200 families showed up. 200 families showed up for my last show in the park. And literally in the park, I was screaming jokes. Because you're competing with a helicopter and an ambulance and a dog and a baby. And we were screaming jokes. I called all my comedy friends. I'm like, let's just see what happens. We started with 4 or 5 people. Mm-hmm. We ended with 200 families when the city opened. And then we transitioned into the clubs again. But I kept it going, and that's where Kevin Hart's people found me doing what I was doing. In fact, it was so fun that JBL, the sound company, came and gave me all their equipment. They're like, this is so fun. Because I was just trying to make people laugh. Anyway, I was like, we're all gonna die. What am I saving the jokes for? You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you remember when New York was the epicenter of the epicenter?
It was like I Am Legend. There was nobody else.
I was like, we're all dying. It's over for us. Yes. I ain't got no escape now. So let's just tell the jokes. And I also, on a serious note, I had so many people in my family were doctors, nurses, working in hospitals. I knew how dire their life was. So I felt like by me throwing some jokes, if people are finding humor and finding some relief, why would I not do it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for sure.
It's keeping my career, whatever the career was at that point, it's keeping things going, and it's making people happy. Like, how can I contribute? It kind of became that way. I put everything out there. And then my 14-year-old son, then 14-year-old son, was like, Mom, you should join TikTok.
Yeah.
And I was like, for what? Again, I was like, you don't know anything. And he's like, no, Mom, it's like, I think the comics are going to end up on TikTok.
Yeah.
I said, no, they won't, because the beginning of TikTok, we all thought everything was 14-year-old girls twerking.
Dancing, yeah.
Right?
For sure, yes.
So I'm like, what am I? You want me to dance? He's like, no, Mom, put your jokes on TikTok. So he actually didn't even ask me. He took one of my tapes, one of my very early tapes, and cut it up and put it up on TikTok. My joke about never having said I love you to my husband went viral the next day. The next day I had millions of views. So now I'm thinking maybe TikTok is one of those places where like everything starts at 1 million. Yeah. You know, like some countries where like one loaf of bread is 1 million, whatever the unit of currency.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that must be TikTok. Like you just put things and it's like 5 million.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom,
I thought the same thing.
Right?
Yes, I did.
We didn't know. I was like, oh, this must be some hokey thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, he showed me his own page. He's like, I have 20 views. I should have felt sad, but I was like, oh my God, Mom's winning.
Yeah.
So he moved me on to TikTok, which created my whole digital career.
Wow. So your daughter and your son were responsible for majority of the beginnings.
I mean, my whole family, honestly. My husband too. My husband was like, you cannot continue to live this life. You are so miserable as a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
He told me, and he's like, he said to me, I'm tortured watching you being tortured. Like we didn't come here for this.
Yeah.
We really, here the amount of pressure on parents and parenting, it's like you're alone. There's no family. We don't have any relatives anywhere nearby.
Same.
So no cousins, no aunts, no uncle. Yeah. Every Diwali, every Holi, every Christmas, I have played Santa enough times. Like, you know what I mean?
I do. I do it.
I know. Like lost my mind, like trying to hide the gifts and all the American, At some point, my husband's like, this is insanity. This is not why we're here.
Yeah.
So it was actually all of them. Even my little one was my videographer for the longest time. Because they were all home from school. So I would drag them to all my street shows.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys will be my first audience. And then you guys will rope people in to come and listen to what I have to say.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Zarna. That's so great.
It could have been bad. It could have gone, I don't know. Now that I think I scared people in the subway. I really did. Because I showed up with my thing and I was like, can I tell you a joke? And I remember people being like, no, come near me. Because, COVID.
Of course.
So it was like, okay, I'm just telling a joke.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like, in hindsight, what was I thinking?
Yeah. No, good for you. I mean, good for you. Especially, what I'm thinking is that it wasn't even your like dream job. It wasn't something that was your passion. And for you to go this hard at it and have a show under a tree in Central Park and go on the subway, it takes a lot of drive and passion to do that.
But I didn't do it. I really didn't do it for the career. I did it for the joy of it. I'm being honest. I was like, people are laughing and smiling. Nothing else is open.
Yeah.
I mean, for what am I sitting at home and doing nothing for?
Yeah.
Like, how much am I going to scroll Netflix and all? Like, I should go out there, and even if 5 people smile, at least it's something.
That's beautiful, though.
It really didn't come from a place of like, ooh, I'm going to build. Like, when I got a call from Kevin Hart's office, I was like, you want me? I was like, are you sure you have the right person?
So tell me this. I only have a couple more questions. What's the toughest thing about having this new career?
It's all nights and weekends. It's a lifestyle. For a mother, it's a very difficult lifestyle because I still have to wake up in the morning. My kids are going to school. I have breakfast to make. I have lunch to pack. So it's like, it's tough to be out there till 1, 2 in the morning, then come home, then reconfigure. Like, I'm still trying to work out how to fit it perfectly with my life.
You need to hire someone for that morning.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're in America. I wish it was easier. I wish it was easier, right? Like, in India, it would not be an issue, but here it is. So I think the lifestyle is tough. I think it's also a slightly toxic lifestyle, if you ask me, like because you're in clubs all the time. There's a lot of the early years, my whole pay was drink tickets. So it kind of encourages you to live that life of drinking and, you know, eating at 2 in the morning. It's not healthy.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things around the comedy that I have had to figure out how to optimize for myself. But the job itself is a dream job. It's a dream. To make people laugh like this, it's an honor.
Absolutely. But don't judge my champagne, Zarna. Cheers.
What champagne? I'm drinking water.
Okay, so tell me about, last question, tell me about your special coming out.
So I have my first comedy special coming out, 1 in a Billion, on Amazon Prime Video.
Okay.
We filmed it a few months ago in New York City. It is really the story of Zarna. You know, it's an immigrant experience in America, how I got here, what I think of being an immigrant, what I think of being a stay-at-home mom, my new career. So if you have kids or a spouse or a husband or kids who want to become artists, spoiler, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but like let's just say I have opinions on kids who want to be artists. I've tried to put everything I do in a club out in a joyful way. That's what I've tried to do. And that's what this special is, that I'm a happy immigrant in America and I want to share that experience.
So what day does it come out?
May 16th, worldwide on Amazon Prime Video. Everybody who has Prime will get it for free.
And what are you doing on this special day when it comes out?
Well, I am. You want the official answer or the off the record answer? Off the record,
both?
Off the record, I'm going to be drinking a lot of green juice. If you follow me on social media, you know what that is. Let's just say it's a little less green and a lot more juice of all the bad kinds. And officially, I'm going to be praying and hoping that people like it. I'm going to be praying and hoping that people write reviews and enjoy it. Honestly, I put a piece of my heart out there, and I hope that it's received in that spirit, because the world that we come from, like comedy could be a little dicey. So I have a lot of anxiety around that. But I've taken this leap of faith that people will receive it in the spirit in which I've dropped it.
They absolutely will, 100%. Don't even doubt that for a second. Plus, you can manifest it.
Yeah.
You think it's going to?
No, I don't think you understand how hard my mother-in-law is going to try to ruin it for me. You just watch. You watch. That day, internet will be down in the whole world. You just watch. If she has her way, Amazon will be brought to a grinding halt on May 16th.
Is there anything else you want to share?
No, I mean, thank you for the opportunity to be here to share the story. I want everybody to know that their love and support has brought me here. It's not me, it's not my courage, it's not my planning. It's the love and support of the people who show up at my shows, who follow my social media and encourage me. Every like, comment and share, and I obsess over them like a lot of us creators do. It actually gives you that next step courage. And especially me, I really am just a mom. I really am. Like, I'm not, this is not an act. So if I have managed to make any moves, it is because of the love of the people who have chosen to laugh with me. So thank you.